GingerGM.
Hello everyone. Oh man, it's hot here. how hot is it with you guys? It's I don't know. It's so hot in England at the moment. Always expect me to talk about the weather being English, of course. You know, that's what us English do. My hair's a little bit all over the shop, but we won't worry about that. I mean, the girlfriend cuts the hair. Hope she's not listening now, but I probably wouldn't have it quite like this myself, but it's okay. And I don't know if I'm going to don't know how long I'm going to be able to stream for, because the reason I had to start an hour later today, sorry about that, is we had some tree surgeons over, and it's actually seemed to have stopped now as soon as I started the stream, but it's been very noisy outside. There's been lots of chainsawing just outside my office window, so if it does get noisy, I apologize. We either have to stop the stream or you just have to cope with a bit of noise. It's the way it goes. So they're taking some trees down at the landlord's request, etc, etc. Anyway, hello to everyone in the chat. So too hot, says Mary. Yeah, Mary, you've got ginger hair as well, and I think us gingers, we don't like the sun, do we, too much? I mean, I like the sun, but I don't like it when you just can't move. It's really tough, you know, really tough. So again, hello to everyone else in the chat who's come along, and we're going to do our second part of this lesson on the King's Gambit now. So we did the first part last week, and I think it was quite a good lesson. I'm trying to teach you the King's Gambit opening, which starts like this. Now there's a couple of things I will look at this week, and then maybe if I get a chance I will try to get some games in just on chess.com, trying out the ideas that we've learned. My lesson from last week is up on YouTube, so if you do want to go and, you know, look at that lesson, you've missed it, just go to my YouTube channel. It's a free lesson. I mean, normally these things would cost you quite a lot of money to buy, you know, £20 from ChessBase for an hour, or, you know, on an opening, or more even. So you're getting a free lesson there. So what we're gonna have a look at today, first of all, in this position, after black captures on f4, my suggestion is bishop c4, the bishop's King's Gambit, and we looked at nearly all the variations here. You might remember that if you watched my rather drunken, should I say, Titled Tuesday yesterday, it was a little bit drunken, that I actually had a game in this line with the knight e2 stuff, which went here, and we looked at this last week, knight here, castles, and I actually had this, and I won in 11 moves. So only another 6 moves somehow in this in this position. But we looked at that last week, so I'm not going to repeat what we looked at last week. Hopefully you can all remember what we did last week, and you can you know, gain from that. If not, you just go and look at the YouTube video. The key line though that I said I'd do a little bit of work on, and the one maybe issue with this move, is the so-called refutation knight c6. Now before I look at this, I didn't have as long as I wanted to prepare my material because of the work we're having done here and the late starting of my stream, so I apologize for that, but I have come up with some ideas. The first couple of things I would like to say about this move: number one, it is a very rare move to face in my experience. When I play bishop c4, not many people come with knight c6, so you're not very likely to see this, but it is certainly one of the main issues with it, that's for sure. The other thing I would like to say is there's a couple of ways you can play here, and I would have liked to done a bit more research, but it really is. I've got a couple of ideas. So I've got one very risky idea, which I think I would probably go for, and it might not be sound according to the computer, but you get a very interesting attacking position at the cost of a piece. I've got another way which is a little bit more solid, but probably black is a little bit better in that line. So this is definitely the main problem with this line, but it's never really put me off playing it, because until I face this numerous times in games, it's not something I'm going to worry about. And the thing with this move is it looks a bit odd at first glance, but it's actually just a good waiting move. Thank you for the donation there, Chris. Very, very kind of you. Don't know what happened to my donations thing. It never seems to work, but anyway. Thank you anyone else who's subbed, who's just come along for the lesson today. I'm not going to go into things I taught last week. So if you're asking about Queen H4, any other things, we looked at that last week. You know, you missed out on the lesson there. That's not something I'm going to repeat. I did say we're going to look at this week, and the other things we're going to look at is what happens if black doesn't take on F4. So you basically, with these two lessons, 2 hours, you should know most things. Okay, well, after knight c6, now you have really, I would say, two main options. Option number one is knight to f3, trying to transpose back into some of the variations you might see if you play knight to f3 here, but with the moves bishop c4 and knight c6 thrown in. And this is the more interesting option after knight c6, to play knight to f3, and this is where you often have to go a little bit crazy, so you have to be ready to maybe sacrifice your knight on f3 in Morphy style. Now, someone also pointed out last week the move I'd like to play, but it does have a problem, is, and this is a bad move, is knight c3. This seems like a good move to me generally, but we now see another point of the knight being on c6. Black is defending the d4 square. So black, can anyone see a very good idea for black here? A two move idea for black here? Bloody hell, it's hot here. I have to keep the window closed because, well, you know, because of the people outside working. But what is the best idea for black in this position? If black doesn't play the next idea, I think white can even try ideas with knight d5 now. So this is this next idea is, yeah, well done the manager, well done. And not just the rat bacon's only given one move, so he's only given queen h4, but it's the follow-up that's important. And after queen h4 and king f1, the problem now is bishop c5, and this is just better for black, because you'd want to play d4 in these positions, but you can't play this now because of black's knight c6 move. Black will take this with something. So knight c3 is a move that we just can't play. Now, what I'm really going to do today, I'm going to have to leave you guys to do a bit of your own research, because a lot of the stuff I'm going to suggest to you, it hasn't been looked at with my main lines. And we will look at the two moves here, knight f3 and d4. At the end, I'll tell you what my suggestion would be. I think I would basically go for knight f3, but the move d4 is also interesting. Now, this makes a lot of sense. We grab the center. We want to try to win the pawn back on f6. F4 even, and now after this good central pawn move, black really only has one move, and again black has to know his stuff here, or otherwise black's going to be worse. If black plays g5, what do we do? And you should all know the answer to this, or all of you who watched the lesson last week will hopefully know what the correct move to play in this position is. So what should white do after g5? And this is one of the reasons we leave the knight on g1. Well done, Jens, Mary, and everyone else with the right answer. h4 indeed. And h4 is a good move, and it's really dislodging these two pawns, and this is one of the reasons that we leave our knight on this square, because now g4 is not a problem, because we just take that pawn with a much better center and position. So g5 is not a good move, but the one move and the only move we're going to look at, because I don't think anything else is scary. We looked at this last week, so I'm not going to repeat myself and look at this again. This seems fine for white. d6, well, we're going to take this one back, and if we could take that pawn, we're doing well. So the only problematic move is knight to f6. And again, I'm showing you now black's best suggestion. So even if you want to know what to do against the King's Gambit, this is also going to be useful today. And after knight to f6, obviously, we have to do something with our pawn. Now, what can we do? Well, first of all, knight c3 is one option. Let me just, my notes are a bit jumbled here. e5 is not a good move here, probably for two reasons. Number one, what is the way we looked at meeting that last week? Anyone remember? I'm testing you on what you learned last week. What should black do often in order to meet e5? What's the normal reply from black, which is at least equal for black here? Well done, Mary. Well done, Shax Tus and AM Chess Guy. d5 is the correct standard reply. But I also even think in this position that after e5 there is another decent move, which is knight to e4. This is another move which in this particular position can be a little bit annoying. I can't remember exactly why, but e5 does not work. So this is not working because d5 or knight e4, some combination of them. So what do we do here? Well, knight c3 is the most obvious move. So let's have a look at this first. And this, if you want a kind of simple way to try and play this bishop c4 line, I think this is okay for white. I'm not saying it's better for white. Most openings are not better for white. Actually, in this particular line, the one only scary line, we're trying to find some equal variation. And after knight c3, again, black has to play bishop b4, otherwise white's better. Black has to keep finding the right moves, because if we can take on f4, great. So he has to keep the pressure up. And again, this actually might be now why this might be when knight e4 is good. Actually, if we push here, this is the line. Yeah, e5 and now knight e4 is good, with two ideas here. This one and taking on c3. Now, before we look at bishop b4, there is another idea with knight takes d4. This is not very good in this position because of actually, this is a normal idea trying to meet this move with d5. This kind of stuff you see a lot. But what white can actually do here is play queen e2. And queen e2 is just going to lead to a very fine position for white, because black has to weaken his position with f5. And here, there's a couple of moves, but taken on f4 at some point. Probably knight takes e4 and bishop takes f4 leaves white in a very good and dangerous attacking position here. So if we go back, just showing you sort of what my research has been on this. After here, if we go d4, this is one way you can play. Black has to play knight f6. Now, the only move we can do to defend this one, well, we'll come to another interesting idea in a minute. I'm going to give you, you know, when you're trying to learn chess, you know, a little secret is, if you really want to get good at chess, it's not really a secret. It's like anything in life. It's all good watching videos and anything. That can help you improve, as all my stuff does. But if you really want to improve, you have to do your own work. You know, it's not a game for lazy people. It's a game where you have to do your own work to get really good. So I'm going to try to give you what my research is. And like I say, you're going to have to do a little bit of your own stuff. But I'm going to give you a very good basis here in the King's Gambit. Now let's continue with this knight c3 idea. And then bishop b4 is therefore the only move. This move doesn't work. And this position is, well, I think the best move now is queen d3, trying to consolidate. Now the problem with knight e2, and I'll just show you some of the issues. This is quite interesting, and it might not be so bad. Now, if black ever takes here, well, we can get what like I had entitled Tuesday, and we can just castle where we're 2 pawns up. The important thing about these positions is that we are controlling this square on d5. And this position to me looks fantastic compensation for white. But the problem is, and again, this is if black really knows all of his theory, is if he plays f3 first, making us take here, and now strikes in the center with d5. And after pawn takes d5, knight takes d5, we can castle kingside here. And this is equal on material. And would I play this position? Well, I wouldn't ideally, let's be honest, want this position, but it's something which I don't think white is necessarily worse here. So this is one way you can play. But it also seems that I just don't like having this pawn here in the way. I mean, maybe we can try to get our rook to g2 or use the g file later, but I wouldn't want to recommend this, basically. If anything, black is a little bit better here. I agree. I mean, I agree with Mary. Black has no problems because he's got development, everything. So this is why I think rather than knight e2, and again, black has to find this f3 move, queen d3 is my first kind of suggestion. And then now in this position, black should play d5. Now here, if black doesn't play d5, again, we're going to be better. We're going to take our pawn back. So d5, we have to take, and now knight takes d5, and here, knight to f3, and we're defending everything here. And after both sides castle, it's what you think about this position. And I suppose this would probably be my recommendation number one with coping to knight c6, but I'm certainly not claiming that white has an advantage here. If anything, black is more comfortable in this position. Our general idea is just to win back the pawn on f4. We also have some ideas of knight e5, and this is still quite dynamic, but I'll be honest, I probably personally wouldn't want to play this, and black has to be quite careful here. For example, I think if he takes here and plays bishop d6, this kind of position may be okay for white, but I'm just going to show you what I think is the best line. I think actually here he should keep this knight. This knight seems like a much better piece, and take this way and go rook e8. And this was the one position I was having trouble finding equality for white. So I'm just being as honest as I can. Yeah, I mean, it's a typical King's Gambit position, but I do slightly prefer black, I should say here. Now, one issue we have, if we take here and get our pawn back, this position's kind of okay, but I think black has absolutely no worries. It's not so bad. So this is why I'm saying this is my recommendation number one. So let me just run through that again. And the only problem with bishop c4, therefore, as we're working out, is knight c6. And now recommendation number one is d4, not knight f3. We'll come to that in a minute. I think knight f3, by the way, Martin, you'll have a bit more fun with. I will come to that in a second. But after d4, black has to play knight to f6. Again, black has to find these moves. Knight c3 now because there's no bishop c5. And after bishop b4, queen d3. And this kind of position is one recommendation. Now, there is a very interesting idea in this position, first recommended after, and this is, I'm going to actually give 3 recommendations, but this next move is something you can certainly investigate. And the funny thing is the computer doesn't like it, but the more you let it run, the more it starts to like white. And in this position, I think it was Johansson who wrote a very good book on, let me just make sure, yeah, on the King's Gambit, who actually gave the idea here. Well, can anyone maybe see what another idea is? We've only looked at knight c3 here. e5 doesn't work because of d5. What could be another idea in this position? I mean, I'll be honest again, I don't really believe it, because the move to me I just think that can't be, but it is one of the more exciting ways you can play this position. Well, if we go knight to f3, I think we just lose the pawn. Probably. I don't think that's, we have d5 there. Knight to f3 is actually, yeah, I think we lose a pawn. It's something else I'm thinking of. I wonder if anyone can find it. Knight d2 I don't like. I mean, we might lose this pawn then in the position. Well, I mean, it's okay losing pawns, but not if you're just going to lose pawns and get a really shocking position in the process. No one's found the move net. I would have thought this might be something Merry, the ever inventive Merry, could think of. Bishop takes f4. No, bishop takes f4 doesn't. It's just not good enough because of this one. Again, there's so many moves. I don't want to look at all of them because it just gets too confusing. No one's found the move yet. Unbelievable. Queen f3, knight takes d4. d5, knight to e5. Looks good for black. And the move here, which is actually very interesting, is the move bishop d5. What about that for a move? This is a really interesting way to play, and if you're a very imaginative player, this could be a move well worth investigating. Now, the point of this move is we've seen in all these previous variations that black is going to play d5, yeah? So, and black's d5 move frees black's position, but when you play the bishop here, he can't break with d5, so you've kind of stopped black's plan. So this is kind of like one of those moves which I don't know has been played even, but it could be really, really interesting to investigate at more. And I will come on, by the way, at the end of this to my main recommendation, what I will play in typical King's Gambit style, which leads to complete mess. Not played because it's bad. Well, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if it's that bad. I mean, like, for example, the computer's top choice. I'll come and take your other suggestions in a minute. The computer's top choice is knight takes d5. And this is the other idea of leaving the bishop there. Hello, Chess Patzer UK, Desert Storm Carl, by the way. Two people have been following for a long time. And this pawn is a real problem often for black. And the computer originally gives this, or my computer, Stockfish 9 or 10, very strong, over 3000. But the more you let it on, okay, it gives check, king here, and then knight e7. It's suddenly hello Yobius as well, of course. If I miss someone by saying hello, I'm sorry. But actually in this position you can now sacrifice a third pawn with d6. And I was looking at this, and suddenly the computer sort of changes its mind a little bit. It still thinks it's better for black, but it's going to, because black is 2 pawns up, sorry, 2 pawns up. So it's obviously going to think black's better. But in a human versus human game, this to me actually looks like something it's much better than the other lines, because you get lots of positional compensation. So for example, black has to take, and now I think the best move is actually queen to f3, and we're aiming to take here. We're aiming maybe to play g3. We're aiming to bring our knight quickly to b5. We're aiming to get a rook into e1 as quickly as we can. Hello Morpheus. And this position looks really quite fascinating to me. We're also stopping b6 because we can take the rook, so black can't develop these two pieces. Black's got a little bit of problem with his pieces in general, and this is certainly, I don't think anyone's ever played this idea. This is the computer's top suggestion. I just thought I'd start with that. And this weird little bishop d5 move, I mean, if you're just looking, let's say, okay, you knight c6, let's say you don't want to memorize a lot of stuff, you just want to play something and have some fun. You go d4. Now black has to go knight f6, preparing d5. You put the bishop on d5, aiming to stop that. You don't play the main line with this. You play this weird little idea. And the computer's main idea doesn't seem that scary. So there are now ideas with knight coming to one of these two squares immediately. So I see Desert Storm Carl suggesting knight to b4. Okay, this is certainly an idea, but we just play knight to c3, and we're leaving our bishop here, and again given a chance we're going to win the pawn back on f4. And to me this seems very, very interesting. You're only 1 pawn down, you've got a very weird position. If c6, the knight here is going to get itself in a lot of trouble, because we move our bishop to this square, and look, we're going to take this pawn back. This looks like great compensation to me. Maybe d5, but okay, we can even consider just taking here and sacrificing. But this is something, again, I would have liked to have spent a couple hours preparing this lesson, but because of the tree searches I didn't. So this bishop d5 move is probably better for black somehow, but it's kind of a secret idea, and it's certainly not so clear. Now, I mean, let's have a look. You suggesting knight e7 straight away? Well, if you go knight e7 straight away, I guess we can do the same thing with knight c3. I guess this is still what we're aiming to play, aren't we? Just play this one. It's not as clear. It's weird, but it's interesting. So I'm just sort of sharing my thoughts with you on this very sort of underestimated opening, the King's Gambit. I mean, at top grandmaster level, you know, these guys might have it all paired, but at our level and below, you know, come on, you guys can have a lot of fun with this. So I don't know. This seems very interesting to me. I mean, you go c6 like before. I go here. You can play d5 again. I mean, even in these positions, if I just play e5, I could have done this with a knight on b4. This is not so bad. Okay, you move your knight here. Well, now I can take it, yeah? And actually, all of a sudden, this kind of position is just better for white. Surely, I've got my pawn back. I've got very nice centre. So this would be my second suggestion for you. And we'll... Oh, hang on a minute. What have I done there? Okay, go away. We're looking at the most critical move, knight c6. So my second suggestion for, you know, is d4, knight f6, and now bishop d5. Now my third suggestion, is it not bad to trade minor pieces in the King's Gambit since you need them to attack? Well, not necessarily. I mean, the whole point of the King's Gambit is actually not necessarily to attack. It's to win this pawn back and then be positionally better because you have a big centre. This is the thing that... you know, this is one of the main things. You know, try to just win your pawn back and keep the centre. So it's not, so you can trade pieces. It's not a problem if it gives you a good trade. Now I know it's very easy to forget everything you learn in these lessons, as doodling dude or Dodd says. You know, but you can watch this again. You should go and try out these ideas. I'm giving you a lot of information. I forget things as well. The best way to remember it is just go and play some blitz games after this. And hopefully at some point you will get the King's Gambit. Okay, but let's continue. So the last thing I wanted to show you before we look at other ideas is, let me have a look. Bishop c4, knight c6, and now knight to f3. And this has the simple idea of now playing d4 and trying to take here. And in this position, again, there's many moves for black, but we haven't committed this pawn, which can be quite useful. So if black goes to the same idea of knight to f6, we can go knight c3, and we're a little bit better developed. It's probably better for us to have a knight here than a pawn on d4 like we had in the other variations, because we can castle quickly. So bishop b4, we can now castle, and these positions are very interesting. As long as you remember, in this position, this will go on YouTube, yeah, it certainly will, so you can watch it on YouTube. In this position, to play knight d5, and again, I'm not going to go into all the variations here, but my opinion of this position, let's say black grabs the second pawn, you go d4, is that white has fantastic compensation. And again, I'm going to let you guys do your own work, because I'm throwing a lot of information at you, and it could be overload. I understand that. Chess is not an easy game, you know, let's not lie. You know, I'm trying to make things as easy as I can when I'm doing it, but, you know, you really have to do your own work if you want to get to that next level. So the basic thing is knight f6 now is not a worry for white, because after we go knight c3 and we castle, very simply we're getting a good position. Black can't really play d5 because we're controlling that one, and our main idea is castles, d4, take the pawn back. And this knight on f6 gets in the way of g5, so black can't go g5. So, yeah, I mean, the King's Gambit is really a positional opening often where you try to win your pawn back and you have a better centre. And you do get very good attacking chances, but, you know, we'll try to generalise a bit later on. Now, the key line here, and this is the only line I really want to look at, is g5. Now, this is, I would say, the only problem with this setup. Do you want to try another move against me? Hello, ringed. Anyone else want to try another move against me here? There's not many other moves we have to worry about, really. I mean, d6, we will get the same kind of thing. I will probably actually go d4 in this position because the bishop can now not get past this pawn. So I don't mind this. And if g5 now, we can go h4. And because black has sort of messed around with knight c6, this is not the Fischer refutation, because knight c6 is wasted of time on the Fischer refutation. And this This is nothing to worry about. So the only real worry, all I'm saying from a theoretical point of view, if you play knight to f3, is g5. Now this is where it gets really exciting, and this is if you're a real King's Gambit player, I think you might like this. Now the problem here, if we go h4 now, this is much better when the knight's on g1. After g4, let's say, what do we do with the knight? And if we go knight g5, which looks strong because we're attacking here, black has a good move. Can you all see the good move? Can you all see the good move? Well, we've been analysing this for the last half an hour, Ringed, and I'm just giving some of my personal thoughts on the opening. It's obviously black to move. What is a good move for black here? Well, d5, I just take it. I don't see how that helps here. I win a pawn, I keep the same threat. Yeah, knight to e5. Knight to e5 guards the threat and creates a threat. And this is the problem with this variation for white. Black is doing well here, trust me. So we can't play h4. So now what I'm going to recommend is a little bit mad, but my main recommendations in this position is to try and tempt black into taking your knight and just give it up. And d4 is my main recommendation now. And again, this is slightly different to the other lines because black has committed himself to g5. And now we are threatening to play h4 in a lot of positions. So, for example, if d6 now, we can now maybe play h4 and knight g5 because there's no knight e5 now, because our pawn is guarding that square. And with bishop takes here to come, this looks very, very, interesting. So d6 not necessarily a good move. I mean, the two critical moves here are g4 and bishop g7. Now the move I'm actually most worried about is bishop g7. Now if g4, this is where I want to show you a very fun line. We're just going to leave this knight here and castle. And this is where it gets, this is where you play in real romantic manner, from a couple of hundred years ago. And given a chance, you're just going to take here. At some point, black has to take this knight. And now we go queen takes f3. And we are a whole piece down here. But actually, this, I think, gives extremely exciting play. We're really just going for the f7 pawn. And black has to defend incredibly carefully in this line just to stay in the game. And actually, the computer doesn't even think that it's that clear. Computer certainly doesn't think, okay, it's just a very unclear gambit. And again, I'm not going to go into this in too much line. We can have a look at some variations. For example, let's have a look. I haven't put this on the computer. Didn't have time. If knight takes d4, I'm just wondering now if we can take on f7. Taking on f7 is often a main idea here. Take it on f7. Can we do that now, or do we simply take on f4 with everything lined up? Maybe just this move. Maybe we just keep it simple with everything lined up against f7. How does black defend here? Simply queen takes f4. Maybe taking on f7 is good, yeah? I'm trying to remember the theory. I think I worked out taking on f7 and queen h5 was also good. For example, this is very dangerous. Knight to h6. I take here. You're going to get mated. Next move. It's checkmate. Next move. Knight takes bishop. Queen takes checkmate. King to e7. Queen to f6 checkmate. So, not knight to h6. This is why I'm saying it's really tricky position for black here. Can black defend here? Maybe black can defend by trying to put the king on d8. Something like this. So there is another idea. Let's just check, because a lot of the time you do a double sacrifice. So can I actually play, if knight e6, queen takes f7 as checkmate, Desert Storm, remember the rook here, can I also take here? Let's just have a look, because I remember this being winning in many variations. King takes here, and now queen here check. This might also be winning when I just take here next move. Maybe this is the way to play it, actually. Just go all in. I think you can as well. I think when I analysed this, I worked out that white is winning here. The king only has 2 squares to go. If it goes to g7, I'm just going to go bishop takes, threaten bishop to e5 with a monstrous attack. Can I ask you a question? If you play d6 here, what can white play? White to play and win. White to play and win here. Just anyone see the winning idea? Let's just see who can spot it first. White to play and win. We'll have a look at the other king moves in a minute. Well, bishop h6, knight takes, defends, but we do play bishop e5. This is better than going here, because after the knight takes, the knight defends f7. So this doesn't work. But if we go the other way, this is completely winning. Because if knight here, black's going to have to lose his queen, and we're actually just going to win. And if you take the bishop, well, I just play rook f7 checkmate. Nice. These are some of the fun things with the King's Gambit, yeah? So I think actually this is a better way to play. And where does the king go? Well, I don't think this square is good, because it gives me the extra chance of checking here. Maybe I take on f4 first of all, or do I give a check first? This looks really risky for black. I mean, even if I take here, and let's say take here, I'm only one piece down, but I might be just winning some material back. This looks like the simple way to play. If you have to go knight f6, and now I just play e5. And I think I'm winning the piece back with the king being trapped in this position. Yeah, this is all this is why I thought this idea might be of interest to a lot of you who play the King's Gambit. So maybe king e7 is best, and now we can go queen e5 and just win the rook here, which looks like very good compensation, but also continuing the attack with bishop here. Bishop going to g5 looks good. So all in all, black can't take on d4 in this position. So after queen takes f3, black needs to find a better plan. So this is the kind of position I would say you go and have a little look at. I would actually play this as white. I would do it. I know we're a piece down, but we've got very good compensation. I just want to take here. We're threatening to sack another piece, and I want to just go for a very quick attack. So this is the romantic old way of playing the King's Gambit. So if we go back to my suggestion, well, one of my suggestions against knight c6, I'll do a little recall at the end. This is the proper King's Gambit way of playing. g5 is the best move, and now after d4 we're not too worried about this, because we will just castle. Okay, so a better move here is bishop g7, and I have to say this is, to me, probably the main thing I'm worried about. Now the line I'm going to suggest, the computer says is better for black as some of these lines, but again I think in a human encounter, this line I'm going to gives the best chances. Now I recommend we go h4, and one of the reasons the bishop on g7 is good for black is that he can play h6. Now if he plays g4 here, because we're covering e5, we can move the knight to this square, and black can't put his knight on e5, and this is going to be, you know, great, because we're going to pick up these pawns over here. Great attack. So black has to play h6. And now the line I'm going to give is where we now play. You can try an idea with c3 and queen b3. I thought originally this was a good way to play, but my suggestion is to sacrifice another pawn with d5, because now the bishop has come away from d6. We saw this idea earlier. Knight e5. Now we've got to get rid of that knight. It's too strong, but we do open up our queen, and after bishop takes, now d6. And this is my sort of new suggestion you could try. And the computer, like I say, does think that black's better, but I think practical chances, this is a very good way to play. For example, here, if black takes the pawn, we go knight c3, and we've got a beautiful square for our knight. We're trying to play against the bishop on c8. We have ideas of taking here, opening up the rook, where our queen can come in, and we can even castle queenside. So I think for two pawns, this is, you know, it is really hard to play. I mean, this is the things with the King's Gambit. I mean, it's not like I'm teaching the London system or the Jabava. The King's Gambit, I remember I did 2 DVDs on it for Chess Base, and they were 2 of the hardest DVDs ever, because it's so complicated. But that's kind of the fun, isn't it? I mean, if you like uncompromising, complicated games, then the King's Gambit, there it is for you. So, you know, that is, you know, that's why I'm showing it to you, because it is one of the most romantic, and it is one of the most fun openings to give a go. Now, if we go back to this kind of thing. So these are really my suggestions. I think I'm just going to go over them one more time now. So against knight c6, every other move we analysed last week, they're not a problem. You have two ideas, and my main ideas would be knight f3 and then playing in proper King's Gambit style. So g5 and then castling, or playing d4 first of all. It doesn't actually matter if you castle or play d4. I would probably play d4 straight away, because now we immediately threaten h4. And our idea is now to play h4. So let's say black does nothing. We play h4, and now we play here because d4 controls this square. This is our main idea. So obviously black's going to do something. Now after d4, if black plays g4, we just castle. And we allow black to take this one, and we go for an attack against f7. Loads of fun. If black plays what I consider probably to be the more scary line, bishop g7, well, now I suggest we force the matter with h4. h6 is the right move. And now we go d5, and we're trying to get a pawn to d6. We take that knight off, and we play d6. And this is a very interesting sacrifice. Now, you could also say, what happens if bishop takes here? Well, I think there might be a very strong move here. I can't remember. Is it just... I think it's just queen h5 now. I think this is the move. Queen h5. I haven't actually... the computer doesn't recommend this, so it can't be a good move. Is there anything else here? And if queen f6 we can take here because of this one. Maybe queen e7 is playable, and trying to counter attack here. What's this position like? Now we just, because we've got to be careful of this one. So let's just have a look. So if bishop takes, what's our best move here? What is our best move? Is it even queen here and then take there? Maybe that's better. Maybe you can even play knight c3 first, can you? Something slow. Can you just play this? There's loads of ideas here. Knight c3. Yeah, maybe knight c3 first, you know. And then our queen comes out. This looks... I mean, if we go queen h5, I'm just thinking black can try queen here, because he wants to keep the f6 square available for his knight. And if he gets his knight to this square and we have to retreat our queen, our plan has gone wrong. Now, if I had a knight already out, I could start being annoying now with some knight jump. But here, if I take on g5, you take here. And what is this position like? This kind of looks good for black, but I don't even know if this is good for black. Let's say we go bishop e2. Complete mess. But anyway, bishop takes d6. I know is not the computer's main suggestion. I would probably look at knight to c3 first here. Maybe bishop d2 as well. Maybe bishop d2 to c3. There's loads of ways you can get compensation here. I mean, because let's remember, if the bishop ever now comes back, let's say the bishop comes back to this square. Well, can we take on f7 would be my first thought. I think we can. And then we go here, check. And if here, we go here, yeah? This looks good. So, the other thing, if you want to avoid all those complications from the opening, the next thing I would like to say is that in the position after here, you can play d4 and you can investigate this bishop d5 move, which I looked at the start of the show. This bishop d5 move is certainly a way that would shock your opponent and play it. So let's just clarify. If you're going to play the King's Gambit with my bishop c4, well, not mine, but the line I play, knight c6 is the best move, but there are many interesting lines that you can still look at for white. So certainly interesting stuff there. Okay, now I want to move over and now have a look, if we've got time, a very quick look. I'm only doing an hour today, I'm afraid, because I've got to go and make sure that the work going on is all right. So the other thing I wanted to look at was what happens if black doesn't take on f4. So I'm going to run through these things quite quickly here. The first thing that I've faced quite a lot is a system where black plays knight, and bishop. So this is one thing I can do off the top of my head. Let's just make sure. So for example, knight to... It's working very slow at the moment. maybe this is too slow. I might have overloaded the system with all my variations. I can show you, I did quite a lot of work for this, but I think I've got too much in this game. I'm going to have to do this in the other one by hand, because I'm going to have to close this down. It's working too slow. I'll show you very quickly what I mean by okay, it was far too slow. Okay, so now d5 is the other move which you might face a lot, and I just wanted to quickly show you what I play against this counter gambit. Well, I always take on d5. Let me just get up my work on another window. Excuse me 1 second. I'll just open what I prepared for this show, so I can try to. The chess is overloading the processor. I've got to note it because I'm also uploading a YouTube video. I'm overloading my computer, which is my computer's a strong computer as well, but it's not able to handle it. Okay, so first of all, in this position. Now, I briefly mentioned last week what I think you should do against this move, and we'll come to that if we have time a bit later on. A very popular move here is e4, and this is one of the moves you're most likely to face, and this is a way that Black can try to generate an attack himself. But as long as you remember to play d3 here, trying to get rid of this strong pawn, you should be okay. We'll come to c6 in a minute, again if we have time. And after d3, well, Black now has to do something with that pawn, and if he just takes here, he gives up the pawn, he's going to be better. So for example, if he takes on d3, we actually take with a bishop, and after bishop takes d3, well, this is very nice for us because we're going to get very quick development. Our queen often comes here and we castle queenside. So rather than taking that one, the main line, and I'm not going to look at everything here, is knight to f6. And this is the main suggestion. Now, the line I play here, because I always like trying to keep the initiative, I always just take this pawn off. And now Black's idea is to bring the knight in. And here, the theory's recommended line is to play knight to f3, which I think is better for white. But I actually, the bishop can come to this square, and it gets a little bit funny. I actually prefer this move, because now, given a chance, I will get castled quickly. So the only problem with this move is queen to h4, check. And now Spassky actually played this position. Played this position with the white pieces, and now your very interesting line is g3. Black has to take this one, and now knight to f3. And again, this is a very complicated line. This will all go up on YouTube later on. And after the queen moves back, I actually now give up the exchange, and you get this position here. Okay, hopefully my computer will start running a bit quicker now. And this is a really interesting position. To be honest, I think what we're going to do now, because I haven't really got time to go over the other lines, I think I'm going to do that another time. I mean, I've covered now on these 2 lessons everything you need to know with pawn takes f4. I think what I'm going to try to do is just let's see if I can get a couple of games in against some good players online where I can maybe try these ideas out. So let's see if we can get some blitz games going. I always play nearly always play the King's Gambit when I'm playing blitz. It's one of my most common openings. So I'm just going to see if we can find anyone, and we'll just finish today's lesson with a little bit of blitz. I think it's always nice to have a little bit of blitz to finish things off with. Yeah. So okay, still working a bit slow. Let's see if we can get some strong. Let's see if we can take some strong grandmasters down in the King's Gambit. So we are sort of coming to the end of the lesson, but I think everything important has been covered now in the accepted lines. I think you're right. Oh, why am I playing someone so low? I'm going to abort. I don't really want to play at 1100. Why? I just changed my settings. That's annoying. This happens to me quite often. I didn't save it. That's why. Okay, because we want to try this opening out against some, grandmasters and international masters, because we want to try and try and get the strongest lines we can. Hello, Jiu-Jitsu Chess as well. So let's try again. Let's see if we can get someone who's higher rated than that. It was me not changing my settings there. That was a bit silly of me. So hopefully we can get this position on the board in at least one game and see if it works. Oh, why? Look at that! Ah! Okay, so I'm going to have to abort this one. Why is it not changing settings? We'll try one more time. Hello, thank you anyone who's subscribed through this. So I have saved it. Yes. Look, can everyone see that? Look, you can see that. Hopefully you can see that. I've just changed my settings. Oh, Darren, thank you very much for supporting the channel again, man. Very, very kind of you. You timed it well as we're coming to the end of today's show. But thank you for your continued report. You've got to refresh the page. Okay, I think I've done that now. So thank you, Darren, for doing that. Okay, now we got someone 25. Let's hope he plays. Oh, okay. So what I'm going to do, obviously, the King's Gambit only works if they play e5, and there's many other openings. But I will show you my Gambit repertoire with e4. And so I played a wing Gambit against the French. Which is this little move, and GingerGM's still trying to finish his blooming DVD off on this, which is taking some time. And now I play here. I'm just going to see if the tree people are still around. Yeah, they are. Okay, so, and the idea of this is to gain a big centre. Okay, I was just checking. Yeah, I just got, like I say, if you just join, I've got some people chopping down trees outside. Well, the landlord I only rent here is, and. Not the tree, yeah, the tree people would be quite cool. Like Lord of the Rings, yeah? Like the tree people. I'd love to meet some tree people. Wouldn't you, in real life? Walking through a forest. Oh, it's my move. Okay, I didn't realise that. So this is the wing Gambit I play, and I play it to get this centre. And again, I don't really worry about pawns. So this is, I love this bishop. This bishop is a beautiful piece. And you are a pawn down in this position, but I think this is a very intriguing and interesting Gambit to play. So we're just gonna let's just play a little bit of blitz and try out some openings against some of these players while we can. Okay, so I'm going to play h4. Maybe it gives me a chance to push or go g4 at the right moment. I could have also done some damage to the pawns there. Now this is a mistake that my opponents play, because after queen g4 he's probably losing already. Again, thank you, Darren, so much for your gift subscriptions, because after I take here, his position just should collapse here. And I notice this is one of my other little Gambit lines I play. I've had this many times before. Now look at my attack here. Like I say, GingerGM will be bringing out a DVD on this at some point, so do stay tuned. Now I think we're just going to come for the kill now. This is going to be Grandmaster Gambits. It's going to have like 6 hours of all this Gambits down. Am I a pawn up? No, I'm not a pawn up, Mary, but I'm not a pawn down, and that is important. Okay, well, he might castle now. That's a little bit disappointing. I should have played something like that, shouldn't I? Okay, if he castles, I'll be a little bit annoyed. Can we stop him castling? I've got bishop a3, knight here check, bishop takes, pawn takes, and he castles. I don't want him to castle. So can I just go rook here? Let's go rook here. Why not? Because then if he can't, I'm threatening now to win the queen with this knight jump. So he might have to go queen a5 now, which he has done. And well, I can still mess this position up, which I seem to be doing sort of some job of. I should have probably done this better, finish this game off better, because now I don't see any immediate win, which is a bit annoying. So obviously I could have played this better somewhere. After rook f8, what could I have played here? Well, this all looked right. Bishop d7, what should I have done here? I feel that I should, this is the move I should have played. Bummer, I've done that before. I was talking too much, yeah. So how can I forget this? The winning move in this position is bishop g6, and my opponent can resign, because he can't take it because it's checkmate. So that's annoying that I missed that one. I knew there was a win there. I was just like, what did I miss there? What did I miss? So okay, so just in future, bishop g6 is the way to play. Okay, but this is still probably all right, isn't it? Somehow. I'm down on time. Okay. Should be showing lines while I'm playing. Okay, let's move. I have to move really quick now. I'm used to playing increment after Title Tuesday. Very much down on time here. And I'm not sure after Queen A2 if I even like my position anymore. So Queen A2 is a good move. He's bloody found it as well, which is annoying. So I have to bring these guys back around, but main thing to do now is not to lose on time. Bishop G6 was a crusher, as I'm sure you guys saw there. A very strong move. Oh, what am I doing? Okay, this is not good. I've thrown this one away, I feel. Can we go here? Let's try. Silly me. That was annoying. My bad play from yesterday continues. And I've spent too much time here as well. So that's also, oh, he's being annoying with his checks and stuff, and he's got another one there. I'll resign here. Okay. Oh, that's annoying. Okay, well that was disappointing. I should have won that one. Okay, we're playing till I lose another game, I think. That makes sense. So I'm going to go for this gambit, which is the mental gambit, which I can't pronounce, the Fajr gambit. Let's see if we can get some revenge against him. I hopefully, if I get another game, he'll play that same line again. I don't think he will, because I know that they're completely winning for white. So I did a little lesson on this one before. Fajrovic, that's something like it's called. So I did actually do a lesson on this gambit, which is up on YouTube if you want to try and have a look. And he's playing the best line now. This one is badly met by knight c3, so you have to play here. And now b4 is the problem. So he seems to be finding all the right moves. Now, I don't know if he should have taken that one. b4 is clearly the way to play, because I have to waste a lot of time with my knights. It's still quite a messy position, I feel, though. So I don't mind playing this in blitz. So he has played the best line, but his king is not castled, so it's not entirely clear here. So how do we create compensation now? What about rook e8? Can we do that? Is that helping in some situations? And okay, now my knight, where's my knight going? This way? Yep, towards his king. Okay, now I've got this square for my knight. I'm only a pawn down. I'm castled, he's not. And if he castles queenside, I can open up some lines, so it's not so bad. He's playing a lot of strange moves, I feel, as well. So how about we go around here so my queen can come out? This is a lovely piece. And now, do I play this move? Or there's no taking here, is there? He's got knight f3 if I come out. So let's just play a6, see what he's going to do against that. Because when he castles, I'll bring my queen over here. I suppose I could put my queen on h6. That's something I should have considered doing. This seems like a useful move in case he castles queenside. But I will put my queen on h6. Threatening mate. I'm only one pawn down. It's not really not a problem whatsoever. What's a pawn, eh? What's a pawn's? What is a pawn? A pawn is nothing. And now here, if I can get rid of this knight, which is well defended, it will be checkmate. So, okay. So he's done this one. Not a problem. So how can we get rid of that knight? Well, now this knight's done its job. Can I also go rook here? Well, queen g5. Let's try this one. And he's defending well, though. I think he just goes rook d1 now. I'm not sure how I break through. I'm thinking knight g5. Does that work? Queen takes bishop h2. Then he just goes king h1. Doesn't quite work. And his bishop is stopping my rook coming around. Okay, so he's just defended like this. And I kind of would like to get more pieces in the attack, but I don't know how I can do that. That was a good defensive move that he has played. And he is defending very well. Can I now do something like taking here? Well, I think we're going to have to. Maybe I'll get the rook ready to swing around first of all. I think I have to try some knight takes f2, but I'm just going to activate my rook a little bit first, so my rook has a chance to swing swinging as well. So if he goes rook here, I'm going to go taking here. And maybe I'll play it anyway. Let's just do it. Shall we just do it? He's got queen g5. Oh no, bishop. Okay, let's try this. Let's see what this one's like. Just for the giggles. And now this is my first idea. And my rook is quite handy at stopping anything. I suppose he's got rook c3, which I missed, I must admit. And then my queen can come back. Okay, so he's come over here. So he's threatening his own stuff. That's a bit rude of him. So I suppose I have to play this. And then he's got check here. Nice counter-attacking move on my opponent's part. Now what about rook here? I knew there was a reason I put my rook there. Was that the reason? I knew there was a reason I put my rook there. I wasn't sure what the reason was. Now I know why I put it there. I put it there to put it there. So there we go. Of course I had that all planned. Not. And rook f4 is a strong move, yeah? Because I'm threatening this and I'm threatening this. So there we go. Okay, well that worked out all right. Good. So okay, he's playing Sicilian. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to do the wing gambit against this as well. So this is also, now I can't remember it very well though. I think it. Okay, let's see if I can remember it. D4. So this is also a wing gambit line we can do against a Sicilian. And it's been a while since I checked this new DVD that I'm making, but all the lines I'm trying to play today, all a bit of fun. And I think now I give this and c4 as my main idea. This is one line I'm looking at. When you kind of claim that the queen is misplaced here, yeah? Which it should well be. Now, is he really going to spend all this time swapping queens? Well, I don't think that's too much to worry about. If he really wants to exchange queens, he can. But I've also got a good center. It's a bit like the King's Gambit. Remember we were saying in the King's Gambit, it's not, you don't just play the King's Gambit to checkmate, but I will now keep the queens on. You play the Queen's Gambit for positional ideas as well. Now my bishop can pop out here, but let's go knight e5 first of all and try to get my bishop to, I can go this way, but he goes here, or I can go, let's take that one. Or do we go here first? Let's go, okay, let's keep, no, then he takes there. Complicated position, maybe okay, so we will do this. And we'll try to cause him a little bit of trouble before he has time to castle. And I'm hoping now, I've sacrificed the second pawn, that I'm going to gain some good development. Because it takes him 2 moves to castle. If he can play these 2 moves, I'm obviously in trouble. But we will try desperately to find a way that he can't play them. Easier said than done. Well, I better keep punting. So let's do this. And now, what about rook takes? Is this completely mad? Probably. And the idea is if my bishop goes there, he can't castle. So a bit romantic chess today. We're trying some mad romantic ideas in the style of the King's Gambit. So now he can't castle. Okay, we don't care about such pieces. We can go queen here, threatening some stuff. Is there anything else now? He's going to move his knight to this square then. How else? Is queen here, take here check even worth considering? I think this is probably what I have to play. And now, again, maybe we can do the same idea before, the little lateral rook idea in some positions. And again, because my opponent's king can't castle. Okay, so now, oh, he's going to castle, the bastard. Okay, well, I've got to take there. Is he really going to go rook takes here? Well, he can go knight d7. And he's going to try to castle this way. This is annoying. Of course, if he manages to castle, it's not looking good for me because I'm so much material down. So knight here, bishop takes. He's going to castle. This doesn't work. Doesn't have enough legs to it. Anything I can do to stop him castling in this position. He's always taking here and castling. So I don't think there's anything I can do here, unfortunately. So yeah, this is now bad. I'm gonna have to, as soon as he castles, it is problematic to me. Bishop d6. Unfortunately, that little guy becomes a victim. And he's gonna bloody well castle. Oh, could I have done anything else there? No, maybe not. And obviously this position is now losing to me. The thing is, when a gambit backfires, it really backfires, as we can see here. And I'll probably resign this one, as we can see. It's going the wrong way, and well, we'll do one last little poke, shall we? See if he plays horrendously bad, but then we will move on. Okay, so my last idea is just to try to come here, of course, but he's now playing the right move. He's trying to get the queens off the board, and that is going to be good enough. So, okay, thank you, opponent. Thank you all for tuning into the stream today. So a little bit of a lesson there at King's Gambit. Unfortunately, as in chess, we didn't get a chance to play the King's Gambit. You know, I would have loved to try to get some games in that, but didn't quite happen. So I'm streaming quite a lot tomorrow.